Welcome to Lights, Camera, Barstool, episode 302 of season 2. Myself, the Gooch Man. Today we'll be talking about a couple things, including the Emmy nominations, and we have Mr. and Mrs Smith teaser. I guess it wasn't really a trailer.
Wasn't even. It was like 10 seconds, but it was enough.
And then SAG-AFTRA, or SAG-AFTRA, right? AFTRA.
SAG-AFTRA?
Yeah, AFTRA. Going on strike.
The
actors are on strike. They're going on strike alongside their writing buddies. And we're going to do a little bit of a draft. We're going to call it just like a what you should be watching draft. It's just a draft of things that are streaming across every major service. So you can know what to watch this weekend or whatever. But we can start out with the easy one, the Emmy nominations. Emmys, not a lot of people really care a ton about them that much. It's supposed to be like a bigger thing for TV, but still, like, they're kind of a joke.
They're absolute. I mean, and they show it every year with the nominations.
Yeah.
People get so worked up about them, and for good reason. People get snubbed, but at the end of the day, it's the fucking Emmys. I mean, no shade on Jeff, but he's got 2 of them. Which, exactly.
They a lot of the things didn't get nominations. The big one, I think, is Blackbird not getting anything, which is fucking crazy.
Blackbird not, because in terms of limited series people talked to me about this year, that was towards the top. I was very late to it, and I had people pretty much every weekend would come up to me and ask me if I'd seen Blackbird yet.
Yeah, you know what?
And when
I did that with was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
What? Yeah, no one did that for Obi-Wan, believe it or not. I think two episodes in was when you realized Obi-Wan was not going to be good. Yeah. Like, it did not take long.
Like I would not argue against the fact that Obi-Wan had moments. Like, there were good parts of Obi-Wan, no doubt about it. Does it deserve to be in a nomination of best for anything in limited series? No. Not like literally, there's not a single category. If there was even a subcategory of sci-fi limited series, I wouldn't give it a nomination.
Yeah.
There's other ones that were better this year.
I struggle to find like where, I mean, I know how this happened. It's Disney, you know, there's campaigns behind the scenes for these things. They take people out to lunches, try to get their votes up. And that's clearly what happened here with Obi-Wan. Which kind of sucks for Andor too, because it makes them kind of look, I wouldn't say unearned, but like from somebody who, you know, people who say they didn't watch Andor because they don't watch Disney Plus Star Wars shows, they will look at that and just be like, oh yeah, they just both got in because Disney paid for it. Andor deserved it.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, I struggle to find what was good. Like, I really do. Like, Ewan McGregor, great, but
it's not even good, just anything award worthy.
And it didn't look good either. That was a
Didn't sound good?
No. I mean, it was rough. It wasn't as bad as Boba Fett, but like, it was the definition, as the kids like to say, it was mid. Mm-hmm. It was a big mid burger.
And then if you were involved in any capacity with Succession, you were nominated. If you're involved in any capacity with White Lotus, you were nominated. And that's basically the entire field for best actors in drama. That's it. It's only them.
All those little tweeting fan accounts, all of it paid off. You know, and they would just keep posting like Shiv for talking for 10 seconds and be like, give her the Emmy now. Give her the Emmy now. Like, all those tweets paid off because, yeah, I mean, they have, and I'm not saying Greg was bad. Like, they have Greg in there. They have, from White Lotus, they have F. Murray Abraham in there. Like, people who had 2 lines, 3 lines an episode. I know there are better performances out there. There has to be.
Mm-hmm. I do like that Kerry Russell got nominated for The Diplomat because that was a very good show.
I've heard nothing but good things about that. I think Rudy was telling me the show bangs, as he likes to say.
Yeah, that is a Rudy.
But
I didn't get enough love. I know like Netflix pumped it for a little bit, but like that's Kerry Russell and a couple other like pretty good actors and actresses all around her, and like it's fucking awesome and very tense.
I mean, Netflix, the shit they choose to promote on their main page is baffling.
We're going to have like the 80th Witcher spinoff, I'm sure, on the front page for the next 2 months.
I can't believe they split that thing into 2 parts. And they expect people they dropped a trailer yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't even think anybody posted it. Like,
it's so hard to care about that series anymore. Number one, it was already going to be hard because what's his name? Henry Cavill was leaving. That was like always something present in the back while I was watching it. And then while watching, I'm like, oh, I can see why.
I only made it through the first episode and a half of the new season. I was just like, this is just not even just bad. It's boring.
Show. It stinks.
Boring.
Like, Geralt not being a focus of the show is a bananas decision. And like, that's why people are watching, especially if you're not a fan of the books or games. Like, you were watching for Geralt. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, he's He's a protagonist. Like in the books, they do give like Ciri her shine and a little bit of Yennefer, but 75% of the book is years spent with Geralt, and he's just brooding, and that's what I want to see. I want to see Henry Cavill just grunting.
I would love to see, and I know this would be too hard to do, but like essentially a graphic breakdown of the percentage of lines spoke by each character, because I'm sure in the first season it's like Geralt 50%, maybe even more. And then like that has gone down to the point where I think Geralt this season 10%, and then the rest is like Yennefer and Ciri are probably maybe 30%, and then the rest of characters no one gives a rat's ass about.
The elves,
dude. No one cares about these.
No one cares.
They've the tapered fade elf. Like get the fuck out of here with that, dude.
They started doing that last season too, going over to Nilfgaard.
Yeah,
Nilfgaard, right?
Yeah,
and I was like, this isn't something that they really explore that much in the book. Like they're like more of a looming force, and like you're kind of like set up as this looming villain, like that you're gonna have to face down the road. I don't need to see their inner working of their politics. Like that is not the show. Like you're Netflix, you're not HBO, so lean into that. You know what I mean? Like lean into being like more salacious, more campy, more action. You can't. For the most part, Netflix is not known for doing like really well done like drama TV
or high fantasy.
Yeah. So, try to do it your own way.
It's just fucking a bore.
Hire me, Reed. Hire me. You won't, you fucking coward.
You see so many different, I think, streamers doing this with like vaulted properties. Like great example is Halo. You just get these people involved with it that don't understand what people like about them. Like they don't get it on the baseline. Like they're people who know how to make TV. They're people who know how to like tell a story. And they know how to do this. They don't know, like when you're adapting something like this, you need to have someone that has a total understanding. And if that's not totally the case, like make it someone like essentially have a co-director, someone who actually knows all the nuts and bolts of like how to create this show or movie. And then you need someone right there to tell them like what they should be doing.
Yeah, like
from a creative standpoint.
Going back to Andor, that's what they did. Like Tony Gilroy is like a very admitted like not a Star Wars fan, but he also had a full team with him the whole time writing that would help him with
perfect way to do it,
with integrating it in, like integrating the story and making it a Star Wars story.
Yeah, you never want it to be overly catered to existing fans. Like that's never going to be like a goal or something you want. You want to be able to introduce new people for sure. But there needs to be, I think the split of that needs to be so much heavier into leaning into what has worked and what made that property good already. And like that is something I think you missed in Halo for sure, and definitely something missing out of this. Which, by the way, did they make a second season for Halo or what?
Yeah, you're the one to ask.
I know they said they were going to, but season 2?
I can't imagine. You're like the only person I know that watched it.
I mean, yeah, I remember they confirmed a second season though, but let's see when it comes to the continuation. I guess he's filming it. This is him in Budapest filming. Pablo Schreiber filming. Whatever, dude. I'm not gonna be breaking down the doors to watch. But by the way, that series did have cool action sequences. Like they did that really well. Everything else about it, just a complete and total lack of understanding of what makes Halo good. And that's something that me and actually George Kittle are in a disagreement over. Like we DM'd about the show for a little bit, and he loves the show. He thought it was awesome. And I was just
he's been hit in the head way too many times.
I was just like, dude, this is come on, man. And like we went back and forth on some stuff on it, but he's a big fan.
We should get George on and have him. I will watch the entire. I'll watch the entire first season. If he comes on the show, then I'll debate him.
Yeah,
and then I'll wrestle him.
What else did we get out of the Emmys?
Out of the Emmys, who's hosting them this year? Do we know yet?
I definitely don't know.
Also, I saw people freaking out like on the like guest appearance nominations because Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't in there, and like Bob Odenkirk wasn't in there for The Bear. This is for the previous season. This is for 2022, so it was only for season 1.
Adrian Florido? That doesn't seem like that's correct. No, okay, this is a guy that was reporting it for NPR. I don't know. That sounds like an NPR name. Adrian Florido.
We're gonna have Brian Fuggins.
Yeah, no Brian or Grunko Flats. That one was a fun
Grunko Flats. the people responded. By the way, my roommate just sent me a tweet, and it was someone in just like an NYC film Twitter person. He's like, "Does Cillian Murphy actually hang dong in Oppenheimer, or are people just lying?"
I think of that. So when I made that, I was like, I'll make it like it'll be progressively getting more ridiculous. The tweets until the last one is just like no one will believe this is real by the time they read this. And yet again, like it will always be surprised by the amount of people that'll read such selective parts of it. You know what I mean? And of any sort of tweet.
The funniest one was in our Instagram comment section, which if you're a listener and you're commenting in our Instagram comment section, I hope you're not one of the many who have a room temperature IQ. Because like some of these comments are just ridiculous. Like they actually believe it. You get people like saying like, oh, I bet it's a trans person.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
The people who comment on our Instagram.
Review The Sound of Freedom. This is not about that. God damn it. Quit asking.
We will not be reviewing The Sound of Freedom or any other movie like that. I can promise you. Jim Caviezel, I feel like, is not going to be talked about for a long time on this pod. So you don't have to worry about
Probably
that.
Not.
Unless Person of Interest comes back with a new season. Or whatever that show is he did with Ben from Lost. We just talked about this recently, too, and I already forgot what it was.
I don't know.
Only Murders in the Building stars were shut out. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the latest season of it.
I got through, so I did the first 4 episodes, and it was pretty good. Not as good as season 1. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue is Cara Delevingne, who is not a good actress. Mm. She just isn't. And something about her really bothers me. It's not her face. It's just like her demeanor, and they kind of play it up in the show like as a love interest, and I'm just like,
We got no SNL cast members nominated for probably the first time. I don't even want to think about how long. Or it might have been more recent. I don't know.
What would they usually get a nom for? Best performance in a variety series?
Yeah, but fucking finally, Tim Robinson getting some shine. And this would be for season 2, by the way, which is awesome because he has been making the best sketch show on TV for the last 3 years straight. No question. Not a question in the world.
Did season 1 get nominated?
No, not for anything. At least not anything that was like relevant.
That's crazy. That's insane.
But I think people are catching on now that like this is the sketch show people set their watch to. Like this is the one we want to watch, not SNL, which they've been on break for a while now. And SNL is another show that could be fixed
very easily.
It's not an unfixable property, but it's just also in our brains, which are very polluted to a certain type of humor. Like that's not what SNL goes after anymore, or ever did really.
Yeah, they go after the mass humor, but I think it'd be interesting to see them try and like set the bar for comedy versus like try to find where the room temperature of comedy is at the current moment.
Yeah.
Like those Please Don't Destroy guys, they're fucking hilarious. I don't care if they're Nepo babies. They're so funny. I laugh at all their skits.
All right, that's basically Emmy talk. Nothing else too crazy.
Yeah, it's the Emmys, like we said.
It's not. We don't. To be honest, don't really care too much about them.
We're gonna talk about the Dude Awards though.
Yeah.
The Guy Awards. What was it?
What, the Guy's Choice?
Guy's Choice Awards.
Yeah.
They gotta bring that back.
People make fun of Spike TV and all of them for that. Like fucking Brad Pitt and Christopher Nolan went.
It looked like the best time ever.
SAG's on strike, as they might have just voted. I think they started the vote at 3:00. I'm assuming they voted to go on strike.
Oh, literally just came in. Wow, THR. Literally a minute ago. SAG-AFTRA's national board officially called an actor strike.
Okay, so they're officially on strike. The studios and streamers have implemented massive unilateral changes in the industry's business model while at the same time insisting on keeping our contracts frozen in amber, said the executive director of SAG-AFTRA, Duncan Crabtree Ireland. What a name. Duncan Crabtree Ireland.
That's a name?
Sound real. That's the guy who runs SAG-AFTRA. Their refusal to meaningfully engage in key proposals is a fundamental disrespect to show our members that have brought them to this point. The studios and streamers have underestimated our members' resolve, and they're about to fully discover. That's a good threat. I like that. Oppenheimer's cast just left the premiere of the movie to go on strike in the middle of it. They moved the premiere up an hour. They still were just like, we're out of here. We're heading to go on strike. They're all pissed off, and it's understandable. They're seeing what's happening to the writers too, and these are people that they work closely with, and without which they don't really have much of a job. And then you got Bob Iger just throwing gasoline all over the fire.
That was shocking.
Yeah,
he's good with the media typically, and like appealing to both like his shareholders and the general public. That was a bizarre interview.
Bad move. He went in an interview he said, the strike is very disturbing, saying that it'll have a very, very damaging effect on the whole business. So this is the worst time to add to that disruption, and that there is a level of expectation that they have that is not realistic. And then you also had like executives with the writer's strike saying the end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and houses. Like, you are it. People are already going to be on the actors and the writers side, no matter what. But now, like, you're just pouring so much gas onto that
like
fire. It's crazy.
that is the assumption. Like when you think of like what they're going to try to do, like that is the assumption. But to see it in writing, to put that out into like words and like put that in an interview, crazy. Also, Bob Iger saying this is the worst time for them to do this. That is exactly when a union would
have any leverage.
Yes, exactly. That's why they would. I mean, they're doing it now because the deal went up, but it's perfect timing for them to really drive it home. Yeah, like just pay them. Just pay them.
And Iger specifically saying that when he's getting paid, was it $30 million a year to be the chair of Disney, and he's worth almost a cold $1 billion by himself. Like, you take less money and you could pay how many of these workers just to have a sustainable living. Like, that's it. Like, and half of them are just like, they just want health insurance. They want like very basic shit. And it's just like, oh, we can't afford it because it'll affect our margins too harshly. It's like, we know it's not true. We know that you have money to shell out. Like, it's there. It exists. And the writers especially, they don't get paid shit. They get treated like fucking garbage. They're like basically lived, the way they live already is like, has trained them. It's like Bane, like trained them to like live through the ordeals of a strike.
There's like, so if you think writers are getting paid a lot, like you're
wrong.
There are some obviously like the top end, like the top of the tops, like the Tony Gilroys, like they are well paid and set off and set. But a majority of TV writers aren't making jack shit. Like, for instance, She-Hulk, terrible series, didn't like it. But the big episode 6, the one with Daredevil, their most watched one. The writer on that, he says that the residuals he's gotten on that one episode, $396. $396. He probably lives in LA, has to work out there, or Atlanta, also not cheap. That's not covering a quarter of his rent. Like, these people just want to be able to live. Like, it's not complicated.
And the weirdest thing is just seeing someone like Bob Iger. Like, how do you not see what this optic looks like to you? For everybody, it's like, you're this big fucking fat cat greedy dude raking in millions upon millions upon millions, and all these dudes are getting paid nothing. And again, like you mentioned, the writers with residuals on streaming is crazy. Like, they get nothing.
They got fucked. Basically, they didn't think, no one could have, obviously, the last deal in 2008, nobody could have seen what streaming would become. So it's not something they pushed to put in the deal. It's like better residuals on streaming. And they've been absolutely slammed. They got fucked. They got absolutely fucked. Feel bad for them.
We're just rectifying that mistake.
Do we stop podcasting?
No, because we need to get the word out.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, don't forget, we need to get the word out for our brothers on strike, our brothers and sisters on strike. It's just it's a really bizarre situation.
I'm gonna put a rose in my name on my Twitter bio.
It's a fucking absolutely bizarre situation, because like, we, again, as consumers, like, we want to see more TV and more, and we always will want the content, and that's not possible without the studios. But also, more importantly, is at a base level never possible without the writers and actors.
Oh, and one more, the other big complaint or the pushback I see on the strike, the writer's strike, at least in our comment sections, especially going back to Instagram, is, well, at least we'll stop getting so many reboots and sequels. The writers are not the ones wanting to do that.
Yeah.
It's the studio heads. Like, they're the ones greenlighting this. They're like, oh, we want 4-quadrant IP. We want stuff that, audiences will recognize. So we're going to go back into the well on this thing from the 1980s and reboot it, remake it, make a sequel to it. If you're a writer, you want to make something on your own. You don't want to go off somebody's work before you. You want something that you can put your name on.
What happens is they'll go to a studio with an original IP or something, like, hey, here's this thing,
and they'll
random book I found and I'm adapting, or like this new thing that I created, and they'll be like, well, no one knows what this is. It's not going to make money. Fuck you. If you get anything, you'll get 10, like such low amount of money or investment from a studio to even try. And then everyone will be like, oh, well, your effects look bad. Oh, well, this looks cheesy. Oh, well, this looks bad. Studios don't invest in that. And that's the people you blame for it.
The writers are the common man is what we're getting at. If you stand with the common man, that's the writers here. And then the writers and then
the majority of the actors. And
just the industry in a whole. Like, so everything's going to go on pause here for a little bit. And it's going to be like, it's going to be your fucking grips, your like catering services, like all of the entire industry is going to shut down. People are going to be out of jobs. So yeah, studios just need to pay.
You need to pay a living wage to these people. And again, what the studio propaganda machine will feed to Deadline and all those other companies is to be like, they're going to say, oh, poor Matt Damon's not making money anymore. When it's like that's not the person who's hurting me.
Yeah,
That
Deadline.
is the upper echelon 0.005% of actors that are not affected.
Deadline tried to fuck him.
I saw
yesterday.
that. Was
they
funny.
they ran the most like erroneous headline about him yesterday. They basically tried to make it look like he was not standing with the writers and like
he's like, it was fucking up his production company, but the real quote was like, "I'm with the actors 1,000%."
Yes,
like,
and he's like, they just want healthcare. Like,
yeah.
It's insane.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
But we're SAG boys.
I need this to end quickly. We can't do this until December.
Yeah.
That'll be awful if that happens.
Some very bad stuff for a while. And then the other big piece of news was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They dropped a little teaser. Donald Glover and Maya Erskine, right? Glover created it. I am a sucker for the actual Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie movie. I think it's super charming. Really, really enjoyed it. Always have.
Cool too. Like that the whole shootout in the house is awesome.
Yeah, really well shot. Good music. That was Doug Liman, I think, directed it. Like I really like that series. I just based on this teaser, and it's very short, tough to like judge fairly in either direction. I did not see anything that reminded me of that series.
No,
what I liked about that series.
Well, the sex appeal. There's no sex appeal.
Oh, definitely no sex appeal there. And like Donald Glover, it can be a hot dude.
So can Maya.
See it there. Yeah.
I mean, like they're like not unattractive people. It's just like they are clearly taking it in a very different direction. Yeah. It's going to be more like cat and mouse spy thriller. It looks like, which whatever. It's also was shot like right across from my apartment. A lot of it was. They shot it all last summer. Yeah,
it did not look good. But again, I'm gonna feel like it's gonna be tough to get that out of my head of how much I did like the original movie. I thought it was an absolute blast. Making sure we're recording?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, good. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is trying to capture any sort of that same amount of charm, and nothing from that teaser indicated that. And I don't know what it is. Just the
Netflix or not Netflix, the Prime Video slap on there too. It's like Prime Video is very hit or miss.
Extremely,
very hit or miss. Reacher season 2 though just confirmed coming out in December.
Yeah,
and I'm glad people have started to
they've hopped on.
Yeah, people have hopped on and found it.
Very good show. More people should be watching Reacher. And I know the best part about it is that finally the Reacher the book fans are happy because they had this insanely massive guy properly playing the character of Reacher because they're so pissed that Tom Cruise was short.
I've never read Reacher, but I like the Tom Cruise one.
I like both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them are solid.
I do prefer the series. I do think it's very cool to see Alan. He is so fucking big. When you see a big guy like that on screen, you just don't get it too often.
It's funny though because they do over compliment his height.
Oh, big
really
time!
Bad. Like you're the tallest man I've ever seen. He's like 6'4".
Yeah,
he's tall. Yeah, but he's not like a height you've never seen before. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's funny.
Oh my gosh, bring him back as Aquaman. I'll keep pushing for that one.
All right, we are joined for the first time ever. And boy, were we excited. This came up last second. I'm in the midst of the rewatch. I mean, I would say, are we the two biggest? Because we're Simon Pegg right now, and I'll note we have Infinity Gauntlets galore. My office is lined with Star Wars toys, but I think we're the two biggest Mission Impossible nerds on the internet. I really do. I gotta say,
I dressed up as Henry Cavill at the release of Fallout. I was at the theater. And I was the only guy dressed as him, believe it or not. Everyone was like, why is he wearing this weird outfit cocking his fists?
The Fuse podcast boys a run for their money.
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Yeah. A fight in a bathroom to see who's the biggest nerd.
We are fired up. Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Just the hype is unreal. How excited are you? Because I can't believe it's been 5 years since Fallout. That feels kind of crazy. It feels like it just came out yesterday.
I know. I mean, for us, obviously, we started work on this one a year after Fallout came out. We started pre-production in 2019, and then the world ground to a halt, which is why the film took slightly longer than it should have done. We were learning how to shoot a movie in a pandemic whilst we were making the movie. But it does seem to me like a heartbeat since Fallout came out,
Not to blow. I mean, actually, I would say not to blow smoke up your ass. I am going to blow smoke up your ass for a second. So I'm rewatching. I'm doing a rewatch. I'm rewatching the movies, but I'm watching with someone who's never seen them before, and they made a note to me about your character, and obviously your character has been in more than just the most recent 3, but your character Benji adds such a different vibe of levity, of humor. that kind of cuts into it and makes, especially the last few movies, so different. And the person watching would know they're like Benji really took this to a different level. For you, playing that character who is a funny character across different directors, different stories, is there even a little maybe added pressure though too? Because yeah, the funny character is important, but too, the funny character can also ruin things. Not like, you don't want to jar the movie up, right? That's not what you want to do.
But I think, we never approach, I mean, this is with McHugh as well as the writer, we never approach Benji as being like the comic relief. I always feel that's a slight reduction of who Benji is. Benji is funny because he's the one person in the team that actually will stop and say, what the fuck are we doing?
Right.
Ethan can't afford to be that guy. He has to be so focused, and Luther is such an old professional, he takes it all in his stride. He's too cool to say the kind of things that Benji does. So Benji is the kind of audience's way in, because he kind of says the things that we'd say in those situations, like, are you fucking kidding me? Or now at his stage in his career now, he's just like, yeah, well, of course, because that's what he expects to happen, So McHugh is at pains to also have Benji, express some other emotions as well, like he does in this. His clearly his fear for the lives of the people around him, and that would hopefully make him more 3D than just the guy that cracks wise in the scary situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do have some good, I would say, I can't spoil anything, but a lot of good questions that Benji gets asked that give you some good three-dimensional moments in this one. As well as I like Jeff, I've been rewatching the movies, and in Rogue Nation, like the scene where you have the bomb on your chest, outside, like when you're outside with everyone else, like there's a lot of depth going on for everyone there. It is a crazy sequence watching that back.
That moment got me Ready Player One. I was
wow.
When Steven Spielberg called to sort of to talk about that, he said that scene, and I was like, oh, thanks. That's good. That's good to know. Good to know you're watching.
That's awesome. So since McQuarrie took over, it's basically been sort of like this escalating series of like, how far can we go with stunts? That's what obviously the big pull for a lot of people going into these movies. I'm just curious what you think as a big member of these. What do you think the limit is? And would you ever consider doing one of these stunts?
I don't know. I get asked, invariably since really Ghost Protocol, since the Burge stunt, it's like, well, what are you going to do now, kind of thing. And I can never really imagine us doing more than we just did, and yet somehow Tom and McHugh kind of come up with a way to act. And believe me, there is stuff in the can for part 2 which makes part 1 seem tame.
Oh man,
it's going to blow your mind what we do for part 2. But quietly, the thing I think, speaking as a fan of these films as well as being in them, Tom and McHugh's secret is that while everyone's talking about the stunts, they're quietly over here talking about character. And they're making sure that the characters involved in these stunts are people that the audience care about and are invested in. Because if you're not, then those stunts will just look like fireworks. They won't ring true. You won't really care about the guy who's jumping off a cliff on a motorbike. And so that's, I think, it's a sleight of hand trick. They're going, look at this, look at this, look at this. But all the while they're over there kind of really drilling down on. And that's why I think you'll never see Benji necessarily do a stunt like that, because that's not who Benji is. Benji is the guy that hacks the elevators and gives Ethan directions on where he's going. He's not the guy that jumps off a cliff on a motorbike. And I think if you did see Benji do something like that, it would feel wrong. You'd feel like, oh, wait a minute, that's fan service. That's kind of like, you're creating a moment which isn't really in keeping with the rest of the show. That's not to say that Benji won't ever find himself in a situation where he has to do something,
right.
And when he does, he'll act like Benji, not like Ethan.
It's funny you mentioned fan service, because I actually read an interview that you had with the Irish Times where you talked about, the social media and like the lack of nuance these days. And you talked about how your nerd fandom and all that stuff and how different it is from back when you did, which we'll talk about the Cornetto trilogy and all that. Yeah. But what is it about for you being in these movies? And let's even say like Top Gun. And obviously there's a pretty common denominator in those two movies, but there's something so, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if I have the right word, but it's like pure. It just feels so real and there's no muck. And again, I saw Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine this morning on social media. I'm not going to pretend.
Yellow. Yeah,
right. I'm not going to pretend that we didn't get jazzed up over it. But there's something about Mission Impossible where there isn't. It just again, it's like I can go in with this fresh expectation of this new creative thing. It's different. It's the same. It's Mission Impossible, but it's just. I don't know, like it feels there's something different. And do you feel that as well from your end compared to like the comics and the Star Wars of the world, which are great, but obviously it gets hairy
discourse.
on,
discourse. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the trouble is the discourse is online is often, it just seems it's not done with any fun sometimes. It's done with genuine malice and schadenfreude and kind of gleeful disdain and that kind of stuff. When you're talking about ephemera, movies are important and these things are important to all of us, and the stuff we love, we should be able to love wholeheartedly. When those kind of discussions toxify, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like, we're talking about a fucking film. Do you know what I mean? I say that as someone who kicked off about the prequels. Like, I wrote a whole sitcom about it. But I look back on myself now and think, well, yeah, somebody liked those films. And for me to go, yelling about how terrible they were probably was a little bit upsetting for those people. But I think with Mission, for me, the coming together of Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie was a key moment in Mission Impossible history. And also, almost by accident, you had this kind of, you have a game of two halves with these films, in that first of all, you had a series of films all by very different directors with very different visions, these sort of self-contained adventures. And every time you went to a Mission Impossible film, it was like you were resetting. It was a whole new kind of aesthetic and director and DP and writer. And then you had Tom and McHugh come together on Ghost Protocol as writer and star, and then latterly as director, writer, and star. And they've just sort of honed their relationship. And what McHugh's done is he's kind of embraced the legacy of what's gone before, and also pushed forward this narrative, which is has more continuity than before. You've got returning characters. The situations in the previous movie affect what's happening in this movie. And in that regard, they've been able to kind of innovate and push forward and keep it fresh, rather than just do the same. And also, they will never just do the same thing again. It would be anathema to them to kind of just rely on what they've done before and, hey, that made money, let's do that again. Mm-hmm. They just aren't going to do that. They're going to want to innovate and push forward and use all the stuff they've learned. They're both of them. McHugh said to me the other day that, like, oh, I'd probably shoot that scene from part one differently if I knew what I know now, because he's gone through an entire movie making process and realized certain things that he would have applied previously, which is it's a wonderful thing that they're eternal students of cinema.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cool thing about this movie too. And when I was just tweeting my review after I'd seen it, I was like, this movie, there's a lot of part one movies that had come out recently, and a lot of them, like, maybe they didn't totally wrap up as its own movie. I think Dead Reckoning Part One is really, it exists perfectly as its own movie while also setting up the events for another movie, which I think has to be almost impossibly difficult for a director to really do, because of, like you're just saying, like, how do you make this connective tissue of something that you don't know what exists here yet, right?
You're so right. I mean, that was the biggest challenge for Tom and that was the thing I saw them huddled together talking about the most on this film, after maybe as much as the sort of character beats, was how do we make a film which doesn't shortchange the audience, which feels complete and yet is part of an ongoing story. And because I think these films are anyway an ongoing story now, that they sort of keyed into that idea, and pardon the pun, but this film is the story of the key to the Sevastopol, and that story comes to an end. The bigger picture obviously exists in terms of what happens next. The villain is still around, so we know that more is going to happen. But it was the biggest challenge was not wanting the audience to think, oh, at the end. I mean, I don't think you could physically watch another movie after this one anyway, because it's fucking tiring. It's like you're sort of like, okay, enough. I need 12 months. But that was certainly a concern, because if you are going to do a two-part movie, as with many two-part movies, however good they are, if you walk out feeling like, oh, that wasn't the whole thing, you feel a little bit shortchanged.
I'm sure you've heard this when Ken, Jack, and I went to go see it. We went to this theater in New York, Lincoln Square in New York. It's the biggest IMAX in the country at like a theater chain, and we saw Infinity War and Endgame there, and people were screaming and crying. And I'll tell you what, when the Wolf Blitzer mask comes off in that movie, It was I couldn't I was we knew people were gonna be excited, but yeah, they cheered like it was, and it was the coolest shit. So yeah, I'm excited.
I love that device. I love the fact that we've never made fun of that device in Mission Impossible. You know, it's such an integral part of the story. It's important. It's an important plot device. And the moment we say anything, it's so fucking ridiculous that you could just put on a rubber mask and look exactly like another person. It's the most far-fetched thing it's more far-fetched than jumping off a cliff with a motorcycle. Yeah. But because we own it and we sort of like say, no, this is part of what we are, you buy it, and you buy it completely. You never go, oh, that's stupid. It's like, no, it's cool, you know? And I think that's an important part of telling this story is like, I mean, yes, the one joke we made in part one is we finally admitted the IMF.
IMF, that was good.
Fun thing, you know?
That was really
like, there's a point in the movie when he goes, no, not that one, it's the other one, which I think was a necessary thing because it felt like an elephant in the room. But otherwise, you know, it's important to have faith in your mythology and never kind of, the minute you get arch about things like that, the minute you start making cracking wise about how absurd your story is, it makes the audience feel like, oh, well, you don't have confidence in your story, you know? And that's in something like Deadpool, it's brilliant. It works really well because that's an all out kind of like self-reflexive, and it's hilarious for that reason. But in other stuff, you need to have the confidence of your convictions, I think.
We'll do a little quick rapid fire here before we move on and talk about some of your other projects. But villain, most terrifying villain performance that you came face to face with in these movies? Because I was watching last night, Rogue Nation, and Sean Harris gets up in your fucking grill.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, it's Sean. I haven't. You'll see part one, and I think we'll exclude part one because the villain is a whole new sort of thing. But I love me and Sean are really good friends, and Sean is a lovely human being, despite not seeming like he is ever in any film he does. But working with him as Solomon Lane, we had this whole thing, me and Sean, that Solomon Lane had a particular bee in his bonnet about Benji. Like he just wanted to kill Benji, and in fact, he kept asking McHugh, "Can we just kill Benji?" I'm like, what the fuck? What are you saying? But yeah, those scenes I had to do with Sean were always really, really good fun.
This might be tough. Top 3 in the movies you've been in, fight or stunt scene, like big moment, whether it be the Halo jump and Fallout, the plane opening, Burj Khalifa, could be even something the new one. Do you have like a top 3?
Yeah, I would say, without doubt, for stunts I was present at, certainly the Norwegian cliff jump in Dead Reckoning Part 1 was, I put it on my Instagram this morning, some footage from my phone from that day, because the film's come out and they said I could release it. So it's literally me, Pom, Haley, and Tarzan watching Tom, and I filmed him go off the cliff, and then we just all become hysterical because it's so fucking overwhelming because he just disappears. And it's just silence, and we're like waiting to hear like Good Canopy come over the radio, and we're all of us just slightly hyper because it's the adrenaline it's almost better really to be there watching than it is to not be, because if you're at home watching, looking at the clock thinking, I wonder if Tom's still alive, it's more scary. So that one, and then I would say probably the A400 stunt from the beginning of Rogue Nation, because I remember being there on the day for that, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Tom a little quiet and nervous. Like he embraces fear. Like he doesn't not get nervous. He does. But for my third choice, it would be the Burj Khalifa. I remember going up there in Dubai and just to see him that day and peeking out of the window and seeing him down there. And he's just looking up at me with this massive shit-eating grin on his face. Like, I am having the best fucking time. And I'd never forget that. I just thought, you are utterly bonkers. So I think, yeah, those 3 definitely. Motorcycle, A400.
Pretty good 3.
Yeah. Well, now we have to. Speaking of Tom, we need to show you a picture and ask your veracity on it. Every time we talk to anybody who has worked with Tom, we need to show him a picture and get that person's take on it to tell if it's real or not, because it is a major part of online. Speaking of discourse, online discourse.
You might be. Yeah. You're probably the closest to the source. We've asked everybody, we asked Michelle Monaghan's the only other Mission Impossible actress I think we've talked to. Yeah. We've shown this to. Here it is.
So this is Tom Cruise in the movie Valkyrie. And we need to know if that is a stunt ass, a fake ass, because that is him. It pans, you see later, it is him. We need to know if there's some rubber padding that we need to know about.
Well, it might be. I mean, one thing I know about Tom is that as much as he does his own stunts, he's always careful. So there could be padding involved in that. I also know the guy can do 1,000 squats.
That's big. That's big info.
That's definitely him. You know, I can see that from his head. He there's never a point when he's going to hand over to a stunt professional, because for Tom, the point of that is that you get to stay in character. When you hand over to a stunt person, that stunt person isn't you. They can't play the character like you. You only have to see Lex Luthor in Superman 2 shaking his fist at Zod to know that that's a fucking stuntman. That's not Gene Hackman.
Yep.
So yeah, look, if anyone's going to have a good ass, it's Tom Cruise. So I would say I would thoroughly ratify Tom's backside.
I expected you to have one of the better breakdowns, and we got it. So
that was perfect. We got to talk Three Flavors Cornetto, man. I mean, we're huge fans. The first one obviously being, what was your favorite joke? Because the one I always reference from those movies is, when's your birthday? 22nd February. What year? Every year. That one, every time, I think that's one of the funniest written jokes I've ever seen in like a major comedy. But what was your favorite joke across the three movies?
That's a really hard question. One of my favorite jokes, one of my favorite characters to play in all three of them was Gary King, just because, in that film, he was the kind of force of chaos rather than Nick. I like it when he's the whole thing when he's pretending his mom has died in order to get when they start talking about the funeral and someone asks him how she died. This is a real deep cut, this joke. And instead of saying the big C, he says the big cancer, which makes me laugh.
I love that.
Yeah, but there are a lot, and also when they say, he says, if I had to describe my mum's funeral in 3 words, it would be very, very sad.
This is perfect.
But yeah, I mean, my other favorite joke is from Hot Fuzz, and it's a visual joke again, and it's the swear box, and it says like F ** K SH * T, and then cunt.
Yeah,
with nothing starred out.
Oh, they're so funny. And obviously, would you guys ever reunite for another movie if the concept came up? Because I mean, all three of you guys it's such a great combination. You, Nick, and Edgar Wright, obviously, just a killer every time you guys come together.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is with Nick and Edgar is that they're my best friends, and we talk all the time. I went to see Blur with Edgar the other night, and I mean, it's not about it, if it's going to happen. It's just when, really. The trouble is we're so busy with various other stuff, and we've got to find this moment where we can actually, dedicate to sitting down and writing a movie together again, and then having Nick be available as well. Edgar came over to mine last year, and we spent he came over to stay for a week, and we just talked about what we want to do next. And the one thing we did decide was that we're not going to do another Cornetto film. We're not going to do another genre riff. It's going to be something very different and exist outside that series of films. I think we decided that what we really want to do is not what everybody wants us to do, basically, and try and give people what they need rather than what they think they want. We get asked all the time about Shaun of the Dead 2 and Hot Fuzz 2 and World's End 2, and I always feel a little bit disappointed when I get asked that question, because it makes me think, well, weren't they enough? Wasn't that enough, really? Shaun of the Dead ends. It's a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there is no reason to carry that story on. Shaun's arc closed. Most of the characters die. I think, similarly with The World's End. Hot Fuzz, you could probably do another adventure with Nick and Danny, but no film is ever better than the origin story. Everything, it's always about that moment that I think that I never enjoy superheroes more than their first night out on the job, like Spider-Man's first night out fighting crime, or Superman, whatever. It never gets better than that, And,
we'll do Tomorrow Night in Soho. There's your guys. You guys are reuniting.
Yeah, I wasn't in that, so he can do that all he likes.
Exactly.
It is that sick circle of the same person who's going to ask you to do Shaun of the Dead 2 will see it and then say, you ruined the original.
Why'd you ruin it?
Exactly.
Why'd you ruin it? Yeah.
I know.
Be that guy.
And you can retroactively spoil films. I remember me and McHugh talking, and we were on the set of the Burj Khalifa in Vancouver, and McHugh had come on board as a writer, and we were talking about the fact that in the original Ghost Protocol script, Julia was dead. Ethan's wife was dead, and Tom didn't want that. McHugh didn't want that, and we talked about the fact that when you watch Alien 3 and they kill Newt and Hicks. Sorry, spoilers, everybody. They kill Newt and Hicks in the first sort of 20 minutes. It completely ruins the end of Aliens, because when you watch Aliens again, as you invariably do, because it's a film you watch every year, you're watching it thinking, don't bother, they're going to be dead in the next film. And in that regard, you can spoil what's gone before. So, I was really happy that McHugh decided to keep Michelle alive, and then she ended up being in Fallout, and I'm sad that David Fincher killed Newton Hicks.
The weirdest of the Fincher catalog is the fact that he did Aliens 3. It is bizarre every time. I just forget that
it is weird, isn't it? It's a strange film.
So strange.
Yeah.
We now here's the contradictory question as we're getting ready to wrap with like 5 minutes left. As I tell you, hey, let's leave well enough alone. Star Wars characters. Is there any dream character? I'm not saying it's like, this is who I want to play, but did you have anyone on your mind who you would ever want to, whether it be in a movie, see in a movie, but just as a Star Wars fan, you're like, that's a character I want to see more of in some way, shape, or form? You you growing up, and maybe you don't feel that anymore.
Yeah,
that's who I wanted to see. Again, for me, my Star Wars love is everyone's Star Wars love is very different, and I wish there was more kind of unity among all the fans about what's what. I was never really an expanded universe guy. I think I read a couple of the books. For me, those first 3 films were the most sort of important thing, and that's what powered my love for Star Wars growing up. I feel like my Star Wars journey ended shooting The Force Awakens, because being on that set and being kind of in Star Wars, in a very practical Star Wars environment, surrounded by stormtroopers and gonk droids and all that kind of stuff, and being in that makeup and having a hairdryer stuffed in my mouth, like in all the making ofs I watched of, the original 3, that felt like the apotheosis of anything I could ever wish for with Star Wars, even more than seeing the movie. And I feel like now, I don't know, I'm 53 now, and it has its place for me, but it's not really so much in my life anymore. I haven't really watched the TV shows. I never really watched any of the cartoons or anything like that, and I have a massive respect for all the people that create that stuff and all the people that love it. It was fun to play Dengar in that episode of the Clone Wars,
right?
But I feel like now I've got a greater understanding of what Star Wars means to me, and it's not constantly watching it or seeing new stuff. It's I think it's been part of growing up for me.
I like that. That's an honest, really put together and concise way to think about Star Wars. We need to get to that point eventually, Jeff. We'll move on from Star
Well, you know what? If you don't, that's great too. That's great too. If you constantly want to stay with it and consume it all. I just realized that my love for it was very specific to a very specific time in my life, and it speaks to how great that love was, that it powered into my adulthood. But I think it's silly to chase that feeling, because you're never going to have it again
forever. Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, we do have a couple things to ask. One of which just being about The Boys, because we're huge fans of The Boys. There's been a lot of great additions to the cast, I think, throughout the season so far. But is there an actor or an actress that you think would be really good for The Boys? Like someone you think would just be a natural fit? Maybe it could be someone you work with or not. It doesn't. Anyone you're thinking?
That's a really good question. I had great fun working with Rose DeWitt, who plays Hugh's mom, my wife, in the new series. That was really great. I had such fun. It's such a brilliant sort of group of people, and I'm so proud of Jack. I kind of, obviously it was bittersweet for me when they cast Jack, because it would, having been and my face being in the comics, I always kind of thought, oh yeah, that's a role I'll eventually play, but I was way too old, and it's Jack's role now. He owns that role, and getting to play Huey Senior. and do the stuff we did for this series was oh man, I'm so excited for you to see it. I don't know. Well, Rebecca Ferguson is one of my best mates. Pom Clemente F is crazy enough to kind of go in there and just cause havoc. It's such a brilliant show to be part of. I wish I could speak about it, but I can't.
That's fair. We totally respect that. And then a couple rapid fire ones. What was your weirdest fan interaction so far in your career? The strangest one?
Oh man, I get really lucky with fans. They're always such good people. I mean, certainly ones I meet face to face. The weirdest thing for me is tattoos. People come up to me and they show me a tattoo of my face on them, and I kind of immediately I'm filled with great pity. You're going to be 80 years old and thinking, who the fuck is that?
Is that like that has to be a top 3 thing in the world for any human to never have a thing that you're trained to react to properly. There's no way to.
Well, you feel immense. You feel very flattered, and you feel immense sort of pride that someone would care that much. But you also feel like slight guilt. I can only describe it as being, oh no. It's
a great flattery, but also, it's like it's a lot of emotions in that.
It's a commitment, like marriage or something. You're kind of like, oh, okay, this stranger has my face on their ass.
Not on their butt. Really, it was on their ass.
No, I've seen thighs.
Okay,
mainly arms.
It's getting close. That's close.
Yeah.
Moving up.
Thank you so much. You're someone we wanted to talk to for a long time, and for it to be this movie. I mean, I don't even know how many times we saw Fallout combined in theaters, and I already have
5
screenings for opening day, IMAX. It's just
I'm so glad. I'm excited for you to see it, man. It's I wish I could see it again for the first time. It's it was such a kind of, for us, having spent so long shooting it and what we went through to get here, it's this moment for us is sublime. So I'm so happy you guys.
And if only there was another one coming out soon after.
Yeah. Just don't make us wait another 5 years, please God.
This time next year we'll be talking again.
Yeah, I love it. Can't wait. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, boys.
Okay, now we're gonna do our little draft. We'll each be picking. There's no competition here. We can draft the same thing. We'll just go down the list of the services: Netflix, Max, Hulu, Prime Video, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Disney Plus. We were gonna do Peacock, but they won't let me look through their catalog without subscribing, and I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that. I'm not subscribing to Peacock. So we said fuck them, and they're also the catalog's not that great anyway. So
yeah, it's actually terrible. Some would say.
So we're saying fuck them.
How are we going to do this? Are we going to just go service by service?
Just go service by service, back and forth.
Right.
We'll start. I'll go first, and then you go. My first one was
Chronicles. Sure, you can go first.
It doesn't matter. We can overpick.
Yeah. No, go.
Chronicles of Riddick was the first one I was going to pick. I fucking love the Chronicles of Riddick. I'm a big fan. I think it is the first one, Pitch Black, is cool. It's a great horror movie, and then very much like with Alien to Aliens. Not saying it's even close to the same stratosphere. It goes from like more horror to more action, and I really like Chronicles of Riddick. I love the cast, love the setup, the production value is pretty solid. I love the little lore of like the necromongers and all that shit.
I've honestly never seen a Riddick movie, but they look cool as fuck. Like him and his sunglasses are so awesome.
I think you would like both the first and the second ones. I think the second one is better, but it's matter of opinion, I'm sure.
What is the story with Vin Diesel there? Like, didn't he more or less finance the whole thing?
I think he had a big part with it. I don't know.
Or the later ones. I know he had something to do with the financing of one of them.
The later one, the most recent one stunk. It did not like that at all. But the second one, I really do like the Chronicles of Riddick. I think everything. Carl Urban's in it. He's really cool. He plays a guy like him and Tandy Newton are like they're like both necromongers that work for this big grand necromonger emperor dude.
That's the evil people.
Yeah, and then there's this planet that they're on called Crematorium, which is like the sun's every time the sun sets, the temperature goes up to like this like unlivable situation, and then at nighttime you can walk on the surface, and it's a prison, like a supermax prison, and it's like Vin Diesel's there with the girl from. I'm
imagining Vin reading the script for the first time, being like, "Whoa, oh my gosh!"
There's a lot of really good one-liners in it. Keith David's in it. A couple of really good people. Fucking, there's a really good line. Like the opening is him getting hunted by bounty hunters, and like, he obviously kills all the bounty hunters. And he talks to the last guy. He's like, you made 3 mistakes. It's like, 1, you came light. 5 guys for a guy like me. You fucking crazy. And then he's like, your last mistake, no gun in your gun rack. Because he goes to reach for his gun and it's not there because he has it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's fucking so cool. It's such a great. It's not like some crazy great movie, but I do. That's one of the early or midish to like 2000 or early aughts movies that I really do love a lot.
Yeah, by the way, this is not like a draft, a competitive where we're trying to pick out the best. We're trying to like give you maybe something you forgot about or something you haven't seen yet.
I love the new studio issue we have today is the TV flickering. That's cool.
Oh yeah, that is
That's cool.
Very distracting.
Gucci.
All right, Netflix. She's got a movie coming out next week. I'm going with Frances Ha. There we go. Greta Gerwig banger. Definitely very artsy, but we did a draft a few weeks ago. We did the vibes draft. Frances Ha is a vibes movie. Not a ton of plot there. It's really just like the NYC girly experience. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just Greta Gerwig in her mid-20s, early 20s, just bouncing from apartment to apartment, boyfriend to boyfriend, and dealing with her friend not wanting to hang out with her anymore. But it's fun. I don't know. It really encapsulates what it's like to be in your early 20s in a new city, and like you're kind of figuring out what you want to do with your life. Like, I love it. I love Greta Gerwig movies. I know people think she's overrated. I don't. Little Women is like one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. So
it's a good movie. I think that's a solid pick. Again, I agree with you on the vibes thing.
Yeah. And a movie a lot of people probably haven't seen, or at least our listeners definitely have not seen.
For my pick, I will do Warrior on Max.
You love Warrior.
I fucking love Warrior.
Didn't the new season just drop?
It did just start. You already have 2 seasons full of amazing action. It's basically turn of the century San Francisco, Chinese gangs fighting with police and all these things.
Wait, which turn of the century? Which century?
Not turn of the. I feel like it's commonly replied to the turn.
So that's 1900s?
1800s into the 1900s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, in my head, I was thinking 500s to 600s.
That was so specific.
Just kidding.
Into the Dark Ages. So the Warrior, it's like all these gangs versus everything else. It's the guy who created Banshee created this. It's based on it's like an idea that came from Bruce Lee, and I believe his daughter produces it. It is awesome. It's got a bunch of like the best martial arts fighters in the world, all like doing really good acting too. Joe Taslim from the Raids is in it. Andrew Koji is in it. A whole bunch of other really, really good fighters. It's just a really good, like cool Western vibed and gang violence criminal show. It's really, really cool. Hand-to-hand fights are like out of this world awesome. Like nothing you're going to see on TV anywhere else. And I could not recommend it enough. It's really fucking good. So Warrior for me on Max.
On Max, baby. Ugh,
Max.
Hate saying that.
So dumb.
I had 2 here, but I don't have enough comedy. The movie I was going to suggest is The Men Who Stare at Goats, which is a fun movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
Very weird, but I'm going to go with a series because I want to have some comedy in here. I'm going to go Hacks, which is great. Like been nominated. It's like an Emmy nominated. Actually won Best Comedy Series.
Did.
And Gene Smart won Best Performance. But a show that I've talked to, I don't think I've ever talked to someone about that show that's actually watched it outside of like you.
Yeah.
It is fucking hilarious. Like, it's one of the funniest shows to come out the last few years. Gene Smart, obviously, I can't remember the other girl's name now. The redhead,
because she's not Gene Smart.
Basic plot is like you have an older comedian who is obviously like a little off color, says some shit that she probably shouldn't. Her career is starting to flounder because of it. She needs new material. You got this writer who sent out some tweets and got herself fired. And so they pair up together and they're like resurrecting their careers together. And it's very funny. It's stand up. It's good.
Hannah Einbinder.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Warrior and Hacks on Max. Fuck, I didn't mean for that to rhyme. On Hulu, I'm putting Attack the Block. Attack the Block is one of the coolest.
I considered that one.
Yeah, dude, I love Attack the Block. I think it's one of the cooler sci-fi movies of the last 10-ish years. John Boyega, among other people. What's it? Joe Cornish, right?
Yes.
Dude, really good sci-fi, horror, action. It blends a lot, and comedy. Like, it blends a whole ton of genres. It's really cool shit. And I think if it's something where, like, you enjoyed John Boyega in I don't know, I guess Star Wars, and they're like,
He's a good actor.
He's a good actor, and I think this is good proof positive of that. Like when you watch this movie at multiple genres too, it's just cool. It's different. It's weird. It's fucking. It's not like a lot of other movies you'll see before.
Yeah, especially if you like mid-budget sci-fi.
Yes.
Like instead of like massive blockbuster shit, like this is more mid-budget. Like I wouldn't say District 9, but District 9.
No,
better,
again,
but,
that description, that stratosphere for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Do you think we ever get the sequel? They've talked about it forever. And I feel like they said it's greenlighted, but they don't ever update.
Like
There's no. It's like the Alita sequels, where they just keep saying they're happening.
It's like fucking Neil Blomkamp's doing an F1 movie or whatever. Like, fuck, man. Do good sci-fi again, whatever.
No, I was talking about the Attack the Block sequel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about District 10.
I don't. That's another one where I don't think. I hope it happens, but
yeah.
The studio execs are going to be like, no, won't make money.
Yeah.
We're on Hulu now.
Yes.
I'm going to go a little anime, throw it in there. Trigun. Not the new one. I'm actually going to throw in the old one because I think more people probably have seen the new one at this point. But the old one, I prefer quite a bit more. It's just, I love 90s animation, like 90s, early 2000s before everything went more CG. It's all hand drawn, it just looks better. Voice performance, it's got a great dub, which I love when something has a good dub. I know anime purists freak out over that, but it's nice when you have like English in the background because then you don't have to sit there and be as engaged, especially when you're sitting in your living room and like you have stuff up on your computer working on something, you just put it in the background. But Trigun's awesome. It's if you like Mandalorian, Firefly, it's space western.
Very westerny.
Yeah, so it's like they're on like an uninhabited planet or very scarcely inhabited planet. Everything is futuristic, but at the same time, they're all carrying guns. They talk like they're in the Old West. There's bounties. Cool Vash the Stampede. The evil guy is named Knives, Knives Million. So sick. There's a character named Wolfwood who just carries around a massive cross on his back that turns into a gun.
That first time I saw him in the OG one was great.
Yeah, it's a cool ass series, like cool character designs, and it holds up extremely well in my opinion.
For Prime Video, I'll do The Fighter, which is I didn't know what they were doing. Right behind us, they're filming Double Play. I didn't realize that they were doing like a review on it. The Fighter, I think, is an awesome movie. I mean, yeah, just me. I'm the only one that thinks The Fighter's a great movie.
Dickie Ackland, baby.
Dickie Ackland, yeah. The cast is obviously incredible. One of the better Matt Damon roles. Like he has very few roles where he's actually like forced to act. Or not Matt Damon. You know what I meant? Fucking Mark Wahlberg. Same.
Oh, okay, Mark. I didn't know you meant Christian Bale.
No,
it is probably Mark Wahlberg's best performance, though.
I still think Boogie Nights, but this is right up there. There's very few movies where he has to actually act, and this is definitely one of them. And obviously Christian Bale was out of this world good, and it's one of my favorite fight movies, but more importantly, like one of my favorite just dramas.
Yeah,
it just fucking like feels so gritty and real and gross,
dude. When he's in prison and they finally play the special, and he's sitting there and he's watching, dude, that part is like, that broke me. I was like, oh my god.
And everyone in that movie was good too. Fucking what's her name got best supporting actress?
Amy Adams, and then
no, the other one got supporting actress for her name.
The family members. Yeah. They were so good.
They were all amazing.
Yeah, and they're like, I don't want to call them no-name. They're no-name actresses for the most part, right? Yeah. And they just it feels like Boston. It feels like that, like, just kind of
authentic.
Yeah, it's say what you want. David O. Russell, probably a piece of shit, but goddamn, the man can make some good movies when he wants to. He can do it.
Hustle, that was a rough one.
I like Hustle, but I don't like, what was it? Amsterdam last year.
Real bad. That was a stinker.
God, they just stare in the camera and say Amsterdam. Oh,
you're up for Prime.
Prime Video. Let me pull it up. I just wrote this down. How am I already forgetting? All right. Prime Video. I'm going with a Kentucky movie. That's right. Kentucky movie.
October Sky. No, that's West Virginia. Can you give me a genre?
Heist.
Logan Lucky.
Nope. American Animals.
Duh.
Which is a really interesting heist movie because on the one hand, they do show it like there's a movie going on with, is it Evan Peters?
Yeah.
Yes, Evan Peters is the main character, but they're also at the same time splicing in the real people who pulled this heist off, and it was at a college in Lexington, not University of Kentucky, Transylvania University.
Transylvania University?
Yeah, I know, very weird, but small college, and they pulled off an art heist at a library. Ended up getting caught, obviously, but very cool movie that not a lot of people have seen, but it's fun. Like if you like heist movies, this is a different one, and I think you'd really enjoy it. And Evan Peters is he's a very good actor. I hope he gets out of this typecasting that he's in now, where I think he has come out and said he doesn't really want to do the villain thing anymore because he's very charismatic.
Very funny.
Yeah, and funny.
Do another Quicksilver scene. Don't even do a full movie. Just do one more Quicksilver scene, just for us.
God, I can't believe the Flash fucked up running. I can't believe they fucked up the running scenes.
Paramount Plus, I got Instant Family, which I rewatched recently.
I almost put that down.
I like Instant Family a lot, man. I think it's just such an easy movie.
So
to watch.
charming.
It's fucking super, super charming, and not in a way like. And we were talking about Mark Wahlberg. Like, I don't think he's a particularly charming individual or anything like that. Rose Byrne, definitely, but like Mark Wahlberg is kind of just a block, and like not someone I usually find very charming. I found him super charming in this. The whole cast is incredible. What's
Isabel Merced. Yeah, who just got cast as Hot Girl.
Yeah. You said Hot Girl.
I said Hawk.
440 slip there.
Hey now, that's Dora.
A couple other good people like Octavia Spencer and Tig Notaro, very funny in it.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're like the adoption agency people. Yes,
they're super funny. Oh, like everything about it. I really, really like that as like a palette reset, I guess, of movies, because I'd watch a bunch of different ends of like the excitement spectrum movies. And then just watching that is like a nice like reset everything. Lemon sorbet between meals.
I remember when I first saw the trailers for that and being like, no way, this is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like, because it was right after like we were in the Mark Wahlberg Daddy's Home era. Yes. And I was like, oh, this is just going to be.
Which came on directly when I watched this. We were just watching and like we did other shit while the credits rolled, and it rolled into Daddy's Home too.
There you go.
But I got to say, this part still made me laugh when John Lithgow comes down the stairs and kisses Will Ferrell on the lips. When fathers and dads and they kiss. That made me laugh. Forgot about that.
Gosh.
You're a Prime or Paramount Plus.
My Paramount Plus. I'm gonna go dip into some older stuff. Give a little artsy. I'm gonna go Serpico.
Was a good movie.
Another NYC movie. Nice little crime drama. Al Pacino, fantastic performance. At his most small. He's a very small man. They really. A lot of Al Pacino movies, they do a good job of just hiding at the fact that he's 5'5". This movie, they don't. You can tell this man is short, and he's wearing these funny little hats throughout it.
The hat and the beard and combo.
it's very
and the poncho.
Whatever. More or less. It's like it deals with in the 70s. NYC cops were very corrupt, believe it or not, and he's trying to fix the system from within, and none of the cops want that, obviously. So he goes undercover. He's working, the streets of New York. It's very cool, and it's shot like it's got the great NYC crime vibe, like you would think it was shot by Scorsese.
It almost feels to me when I remember the first time I watched it, it felt like a spin-off to The Godfather. You know what I mean? As far as like stylistically,
yeah,
like a lot of the ways that they shot stuff. Serpico also has a very funny. They do a parody of it in It's Always Sunny.
Do they really?
Charlie plays him, and I believe it's because Dennis and Frank.
That's actually a really good casting.
Dennis and Frank buy a cop car at auction, and they just pretend to be cops in Philadelphia to get free shit. And then Charlie becomes Serpico, basically, trying to like get them outed to the police department. It's very funny. Apple TV Plus. I just put Troy. I mean, their library is so limited. It's tough to pick out something that isn't like you've definitely seen for sure because it's an Apple TV original. But Troy, I talk about Troy like ad nauseum.
It's cool.
Too much. It's fucking
cool. Dude, Brad Pitt's so fucking cool as Achilles.
As fucking historical epic. And it is, the cast is crazy because you got like Brian Cox playing like a Greek general alongside Brendan Gleeson. Like it makes no sense. I'm pissing myself off. I forget the general's name. It's fucking because he's very important in Greek mythology or whatever.
He's a real person. God, you're all over the place.
No, he was the general. It's with an A. It's not Archimedes. Obviously, it's fucking.
Here, I'll tell you.
No, don't.
I got it.
And don't tell. I know it starts with an A and ends with.
It does.
Fuck. No, don't tell me. Do not tell me. I'll think of it by the time I'm in with this. Garrett Hedlund in that movie as well. Eric Bana, awesome in it.
Diane Kruger.
Diane Kruger's there.
Diane Kruger.
Without a doubt. And all the other, James Cosmo. from Braveheart was in it. Like, and weird, like you wouldn't expect any of these people to be Greek or whatever, but like it's.
Oh, Peter O'Toole's in it.
Yeah, he was like the king of Troy.
See, that's like a person I just wouldn't recognize.
Yeah, he has good lines in it too. But yeah, it's just cool. Like the production value is insane. Like all of it looks like so much more real than most of the stuff you'd see later. And I mean the fight scene between Hector and Achilles is an all timer to me.
It's very funny because so when you look up any kind of writing credits, if it's based on like a previous
Agamemnon,
work,
got it.
There you go. If it's based on a book or a previous work, the writing credits do include whoever wrote the original source material. So on this, the first writer listed
Homer
is Homer.
Fucking Homer, baby.
He's got an IMDb page.
No way, really? That's really funny.
It's like his birthday, 850 BC to 800.
He's just bust as his photo. That's so funny.
Fucking funny. Hold on. Oh, he's listed as a writer on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Obviously. God, that's hilarious.
That's so funny.
Oh my.
And it makes sense.
Dude, he's got some fucking
so many
credits.
people adapted weird things off of his work.
He's got 68 titles.
God.
That's so fucking funny.
But dude, great movie. I could rewatch Troy any day of the week. Great soundtrack too. That's James Horner, I think, was on that soundtrack. Great. Also the line in the beginning where he first kills that first dude, Boagrius or whatever. And like the little kid's like, that man you're fighting is so big, I wouldn't want to fight him. And he's like, that's why no one will remember your name. And then they move on. Oh, dude.
James Horner.
Anthony Hopkins was in Troy. He was Archimedes, I think. Or not, no, Aristotle. Aristotle has trained him, I think. Maybe.
Was he?
He's like his teacher, or mentor, teacher, something. And his mom was someone of note too. I don't know, big ass cast, and it's good. I love.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm going down it. Like Rose Byrne was in there. Like
Rose Byrne was fucking the
Sean Bean,
priestess.
Julie Christie. Like
Sean
this
Bean was Odysseus.
Yeah, this is an insane cast.
Who did I miss?
That's pretty much it. I mean, there's some like
fucking
smaller people in
you
here.
didn't even mention Orlando Bloom.
Oh yeah, but I thought that was more given.
Yeah,
Eric Bana.
Eric Bana was so good in this.
Yeah,
he'd see more stuff.
Wolfgang Peterson. What's he done lately?
Nothing. Not a lot.
He's dead.
Yeah,
died last year. I didn't realize that. All right, R.I.P. Wolfgang.
R.I.P. to Wolfgang.
We're on Apple TV. I'm gonna go movie from last year. A movie I still don't think a ton of people have seen. Cha Cha Real Smooth was in my top 5 from last year. I really loved that movie. That's from Cooper Raiff, who is like I think one of the best young talents in Hollywood right now. Between that and Shithouse, like he just has it very good. Like usually when someone tries to write something about their own life at the point that they're in their life, that makes sense. Like instead of trying to do a retrospective on if you're 35 and trying to write about what it was like when you were 20, that's a lot easier than being 20 years old and writing about what it's like to be 20 and making a movie about it and also directing it, writing it, and starring in it. He can do all 3. It's very impressive. I would prefer Cha Cha Real Smooth quite a bit over Shithouse. Shithouse is a vibes movie that doesn't really go anywhere. Cha Cha Real Smooth is like narratively wrapped up. Dakota Johnson is fantastic in it. Maybe as good as she's ever been. And maybe the best like on-screen portrayal of like autism, like which is something Hollywood
fucks up routinely,
especially recently. Holy shit! They like
remember the Predators kid. What a fucking swing and a miss.
Jesus Christ! It's like either they make them,
mega genius,
or like make them an idiot, and it's like, well, that's not really it. Yeah. So. They do it really well, and like it's a really good story, heartbreaking story. Who plays the mom again? That's gonna bother me.
Damn it!
And she's great in it too. Yeah. You get, God damn it!
That's one of my favorite Dakota Johnson roles too. Because and then another one that was proof positive that the shit of 50 Shades 50 Shades.
Yeah.
Same with Jamie Dornan and Barb Starr.
Leslie Mann plays his mom. And Brad Garrett plays his stepdad. Love that. Love that.
Disney Plus. I put Encanto on there because I recently rewatched it. And I really do like Encanto quite a bit. I thought it is such a pleasant movie. And like just very It was tough to follow because I think that came out pretty close to Coco, like probably like within 3 years of it or something like that, right? Because Coco's 2019, I believe. Very tough to capture that same level of like super bright magic vibes, and I think that was one of the few times that picture managed to follow it up as good of a job. Although I would say Coco's obviously a better movie, but like that was very tough, and I don't think it got as much shine as it should have because it was extremely good. I think the songs are awesome. All the original things in it, and it's just a good plot too. I really like the idea of it, the house and all the powers and all that stuff. I thought it was cool, and thought it deserved more love.
Remember when people freaked out about the strong woman?
Whatever, dude.
They were like, she should be strong.
Yeah. You tell me a woman can lift up a house?
God, I fucking love a woman who can just. My dream wife, my ideal, is I'll fall asleep on the couch at night, not because she's mad at me, just because I'm a sleepy little baby, and she'll come pick me up, just carry me up the steps.
Mad at her. They were and like it was so traditional, and like everyone didn't like her anyway. They liked the fucking hot one. Like
yeah,
it was so stupid.
Nothing better than when we just get horny over Pixar characters. God,
these fucking freaks, man. It's so performative. They don't give a rat's ass.
No, they don't. They're not going to see it. They're never going to see it.
Not once. And they weren't going to regardless.
It's like a 32-year-old man without kids, like freaking out. And it's like, no. Yeah. Who gives a fuck? I'm going to go with it's in my Letterboxd top 4. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Didn't know that was on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it is. Always is. I think it is like a Disney-owned movie.
Did not know that.
Maybe one of the best Shakespeare adaptations of all time, Taming of the Shrew.
Oh, dude, his IMDb must be interesting.
Shakespeare's?
Yeah.
I kind of want to see it now. We just go through like all the historic writers now.
I mean, I'm going to pour through Homer's IMDb. Shakespeare's will be good because there's so many adaptations of it.
I want to see if he's credited as a writer on 10 Things. But yeah, 10 Things, just fantastic. Just a charming ass movie.
It's so weird to see that fucking Homer has upcoming projects. Dead for 2,000 years.
God, this man's. You want to talk about a posthumous library?
Yeah.
God damn.
He's got upcoming work.
Writers. Yep, he's listed. Oh, he's got it.
On what?
He's listed on. He's listed on IMDb. God damn it.
I mean, if fucking Homer's on here.
That's so
Star Trek
funny.
Odyssey. Is that just because they said Odyssey?
The man's got 1,819 titles. He's got 84 upcoming projects. God damn it.
There's so many of these fucking credits.
That's
Wishbone?
so funny.
Homer's credited on Wishbone, the series
What's
about the dog. You never heard of Wishbone?
No.
You never saw the series?
No.
I forget the theme song, but it was like Wishbone, it's Wishbone.
How does that even fit into Homer?
That's why I'm so fucking confused.
Dude, he's got an anime. Dude, Shakespeare's got anime in his.
The Return of Ringo.
My God.
Not Rango. Don't get too excited.
Yeah, I was about to say what. This is fucking hilarious that IMDb has these. But 10 Things I Hate About You. I rewatched A Knight's Tale yesterday because someone in our subreddit posted just a quote from it, and it was just like Sir von Elric von Liechtenstein, and I was like, all right, well now I got to rewatch it. I rewatched it. I gave it 5 stars. That's a perfect movie in my opinion. There's nothing I would change about it. Same thing with 10 Things I Hate About You. Heath Ledger is one of those guys where I wouldn't like, obviously fantastic actor, but I don't think of him as like, when I think in my head of like greatest actors of all time, he doesn't come to the top of the list for me. But then I think about it, I'm like, I have 3 of his movies rated 5 stars, which I only have like 30 of those, 40 of those. Mm-hmm. And he's got 3 of them. Pretty nuts. He's just very charismatic on screen. Like he just is. He's so magnetic. Fantastic. And Julia Stiles, perfect there. The soundtrack rules. Like it's just an awesome movie. I love it.
He is credited in Comment allez-vous? Je suis espouise. I'm just going through his entire thing now. He has so many credits each year. It's incredible. He has 45 upcoming projects, Shakespeare. This is fucking nuts.
Oh, I'm seeing 84.
For upcoming?
Yeah. That's what the app says.
Dude, his first credit they have for him is from 1898.
What's he known for?
Dual scene Hamlet, Prince of Denmark.
How's he listed on the soundtrack for Gotham and Cinderella?
That simply cannot be true.
He's listed. I guess he did write some like sonnets.
1,700 previous works, 45 upcoming. I have him under. And yeah, see the music department soundtrack.
She's the Man. He's listed as a writer on She's the Man. That was based 12th Night. I've never heard of that play.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Oh, whatever.
This is so fun. Yeah, his first credit was in 1898.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
For a play, I guess that's as far back as they went for.
I didn't realize they put plays on IMDb. It's international movie. Yeah, what the fuck? Get that out of here.
So I have Chronicles of Riddick, Warrior, Attack the Block, The Fighter, Instant Family, Troy and Encanto, Gooch has Francis Ha, Hacks, Trigun, American Animal, Serpico, Cha-Cha, Real Smooth, and 10 Things I Hate About You. All good movies to watch if you have any of those streaming services, and check them out.
Yeah, it's just, who knows?
And get yourself ready. We're doing Mission Impossible on the Tuesday episode, so make sure you watch it this weekend. Both of us loved it, obviously.
It's fucking awesome.
Absolutely.
It's just a movie. You got to see it on a big screen.
Biggest screen you can find. Don't
going to the movies is magical.
Don't
I
go
would say.
to the website with the guys with
the slot machine. Slots.
Yeah, the slot machine guy. But Scurvy was what I was looking for. I was gonna say the guys with Pirates.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Scurvy
don't
too
do that.
niche of a reference.
There's a guy on our team who dressed like a pirate.
This is an unfortunate conversation I had to have with my girlfriend at some point. She didn't think pirates are real.
What do you mean?
She thought they were made up for movies.
Like now?
No, ever. Like she thought they like the pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean never like those type of pirates never existed. She thought they were just like made up for movies and TV. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know. I just always thought they were fake.
What about knights?
No, I think she knew knights were real, but she didn't.
But that's like in the same like vein. When I say I was born in the wrong generation, what I mean is I wish I was born in the 1700s and could have been a pirate.
Oh, I gotta do search her fucking name in my group chat, and it's just me. Just like anytime she says something like that, I just immediately shot in there. I'm a bad boyfriend, I think, for that.
No,
it's funny. I need to tell someone. It's like I'm gonna go like, this is a ridiculous thing, right? You need to tell somebody. And I tell her she does good stuff too. I think. Yeah, she did. There's another one too. It wasn't Pirates. It was something else very, very bad.
I could understand like being like, oh, pirates still existed. I didn't know that.
That's not
fair.
Crazy. But
that blew my mind when I was like 13 and I found that out. That kind of blew my mind a little bit.
We were doing they have like these like TikTok general knowledge quizzes and everything like that. And basically like I would be doing ones that I'm shit at, and she'd be doing ones that she's shit at. And like there's one, what year did the Berlin Wall fall? And
very famously in the Reagan election. Or Reagan presidency, right?
Yes. But she looks at it and she goes, 1943? And I was like, fucking World War. The Cold War hadn't even started yet. And then that was a rough one. That's a failure of the American public system because she's very smart in every other subject. Just history is not her thing. And it's very frustrating to me since that is the only good thing I do have.
I bet she's good at math.
She actually sucks at math. She's really bad at math. But yeah, that's the episode. Make sure again to watch Mission Impossible.